everybody, welcome to DryerDays Art Studio. I'm Catherine. Thank you so much for being here today. Well, I want to jump right into this video on what you can do when you have way too much resin left over. I get that question a lot, and I'm going to be showing you how I made these coasters here. I call them my hot mess coasters. You'll see why in a little bit. But I'm using the silicone mold here that I actually have available in my store, and these are pretty new. They're a little bit shallower than the last ones I had in my store. So you can see here, they're just barely 1/4 of an inch there. Here I will show you a side view of the width of the coasters, so you can see there. I really like the size of these. Yeah, these pieces right here too, these angel wings I was able to make as well. I had so much leftover resin. So let me give you a little backstory on what was going on. I was working on this piece right here. These are two 12 by 24 inch boards, and I had used an online calculator to figure out how much resin I was going to need total. But I always like to have a little bit more. I don't like to run out of resin, so I like to have way more than I need. So I added about 2 ounces more on to what I thought I might need, and I still needed more, so then I made way too much more. Kind of hustling because I had all this leftover resin. I'm like, what can I do with it? I'm looking around my studio. I'm like, let me grab that coaster mold because I haven't used the newer ones yet that are shallower. And so you can see me here working very fast. This is time lapse, but I was moving very quickly because you can see here my resin is really thickening up. And as I'm making these, I'm thinking this is a hot mess. This is a hot mess. And so that is where these coasters got the name, the hot mess coasters. And so I am just taking every little bit I have here and scraping them into these coasters. I had actually already made the wings at this point, so I'm really scraping the bottom of the barrel here. I thought I would be able to fill up the wings and that would be sufficient, but I still had all this resin left. And as I'm making these, I'm thinking I'm not going to have enough. I'm going to not have enough now, and I'm really going to have a hot mess on my hands. I'm using here the antique lace, the matte white. I'm using deep blue mixed with a little bit of black matte to deepen it even more. And I'm using my Ahoy glitter. I'm going to use my heat gun here to heat this up, and that is actually going to soften the resin back up too. So it's going to flow a little bit together, but this was really tacky. I mean, you saw it. It was just like thick, gluey sludge coming out of those cups. So I was doing my best to loosen it up and was not real sure what I was going to get out of this, but I was just determined to keep going. And this is some of my gold glitter here. This is actually biodegradable fine glitter. It's really, really nice. And I had mixed up a lot of this for the 2-piece, and I ended up really not even using that much of this glitter. So I had quite a bit that I could use here. Decided I was going to use the glitter more up on these edges that I feel kind of look a little bit more rocky and have some more texture to them. Oh, you can see it is just, it's so thick. I'm trying to get it in here as best as I can. And then this right here is actually my sky blue, and I use this as a highlight in the 2-piece. I'll probably do a video on the 2-piece too. I'm not sure if I'm gonna use it the video just for my patrons or if I'm gonna put it on YouTube, but I'm gonna do something with that. And hitting with some heat again. And I had a little bit of gold metallic left as well that I'm gonna throw on here too. So I'm sorry too, this was not where I normally film stuff. I was really working on the fly because I knew this resin was really reaching its tap out point. So some of them were a little bit more filled than others. So you can see I'm trying to move this around, and it wasn't having it. It was a hot mess. So, and here's that gold metallic I mentioned that I still had some of. If you're watching this thinking like, how did she ever save these to make these hot mess coasters? I mean, this is what I did. This is a mess. You should see my studio when I'm working like this. There's just resin all over the place, and it's like I'm doing it for the first time again, and it's just a mess. But then these beautiful creations come out of it, so I'm willing to deal with it. As long as I have my respirator on and my gloves, I am good to go. Okay, so I just sprayed a little bit of rubbing alcohol on there to help me pop some bubbles. And using a stick here to just move it around. I thought, it's kind of looking a little beachy. Sort of like the ocean, maybe. Said I'm just going to marry these together because they just look like big blobs in there. And then I'm just going to Yeah, it's super thick. The stick was sticking to my glove. Yeah, and then I felt that the gold just looked like this stark thing there, so I'm using a little bit of that sky blue to marry it in with the rest of the colors, just so it looks a little bit more blended. More heat, we'll loosen it up. It'll help marry those colors together. We'll get some nice effects. Never using a heat torch or open flame near my silicone molds because we don't want to ruin them. I will give you a close-up here as they are curing. Here it is. I'm looking at these like, I don't know, we'll see. We'll see when I demold these how this turns out, but wasn't real sure on these hot mess coasters. And then here's just a shot of those angel wings that I'd poured too. Okay, so here we are. They have cured, and they have cured for about 2 days. That's why I don't have any gloves on. Normally I would have gloves on if we were in that 24-hour mark. I was concerned these weren't even going to come out of this mold. I was afraid that I had ruined my mold. You can see I had so much like chunks of resin because it was so thick that it really overlapped here. And here I just end up snapping it, and then they came out pretty well. I've seen people on Instagram do that with these mats where they just snap them like that and they pop right out. Okay, so you can see there's so much resin, they're still like connected because I had so much drip over the barriers there in between each mold. I'm going to show you here what I do to kind of clean these edges up a little bit. Some of them you can just peel off like this, they'll come off pretty easy. Some of them you need a tool. So I'm going to use my nippers here. I got these at Hobby Lobby or Michael's, just a craft store. You can find them in the floral department because they're essentially wire cutters. So they use them for like stems and stuff on flowers and other things. So that's where you can find them, in the floral department. And you just come around and literally just nip, and they will pop off pretty easily. Some might need a little bit of extra work, and especially on the tops here because it's not that straight-sided edge. It got a little tricky in some spots, but I will also take out my sanding circle and I will sand along those edges to help me get anything else off. And then I wanted to flip these over. And you can see they really just look like splotches because when I first poured that resin down, it just was so thick. There was no blending that was going to be going on. I think this side turned out pretty well. I think the blending and the marrying of the colors actually turned out really pretty. It was sort of a little unexpected surprise, especially when you consider the time crunch I was working under and literally whipping these out in about 5 minutes. And then here using that little sanding circle to just gently get those edges nice and smooth so we don't have any sharp pieces or anything like that poking out. And then the angel wings I just wanted to demold for you really quickly too so you could see how those turned out. These I think turned out really, really beautifully as well. And so this is why I do like to have a lot of these little molds just laying around, because typically I do have extra resin. And this way you can be putting them right into something else, creating these other little pieces of artwork. Just the other day I was making a video for my February art box, which has these little heart trinket dishes in them, and I had no idea how much resin to make, so I just always aim for at least an ounce more than I think, just in case. And so I had this leftover resin, and I was able to make a couple of ornaments out of them that now I can either gift in the holiday season or I can keep and put them on my own tree. So it is very handy to have some of these little molds hanging around in your studio. So I guess bottom line, the main thing I want to tell you is that if you have too much leftover resin, you don't know what to do with it, don't panic. Look around your studio real quick, eyeball what you think you have that would accommodate the amount of resin you have left, and just go for it. Hit it with a little heat, loosen it up a little bit, and you will be good to go. And then you'll have beautiful little coasters like these, and then some angel wings too. So I hope this video helped you guys out and you found it informative. Please like, comment, and subscribe. It really, really helps me out. And until next time, everybody, keep on pouring.